In February this year, the operator of a TikTok profile called Just Cuz The Book posted a TikTok of their aunt sat by herself at an in-store signing for her new book. It made for a sad, heart-wrenching scene as she carefully rearranged the books in front of her with seemingly no prospect of anyone's interest. The TikTok ultimately garnered 38.1 million views, 6.1 million likes, and 36.9 thousand comments, with users saying things like, "No, please don't do this to me, I'm not emotionally stable. The first clip had me in tears," and "I want to buy the book just cause she's so cute." Among these comments was the usual parade of brand accounts seeking to seize on the opportunity for some good PR. Overall, it was a heartwarming outpouring of support, and there's even been talk of a sequel and a TV show. With funds provided by Visa, she was able to print out thousands of copies of her book and give them out to a library, and even to India. The internet can be dark sometimes, but stories like this really warm your heart. Maybe social media isn't so bad after all. Well, thanks for watching. See you in a couple of weeks. Just kidding. It turns out her nephew or niece, allegedly, rented out the bookstore on a Monday when it was closed for $150, and nobody can find any trace of the signing being advertised anywhere. Now, they've never addressed this allegation directly, but deception aside, the TikTok typifies what's been called pity marketing, a term previously used to describe marketing for a sympathy-inducing social cause, where pity is the primary driver of sales or donations. But this has taken on a new meaning in the age of social media, with small businesses or individual creators invoking pity for themselves as a marketing tactic. Historically, it's been uncomfortable when someone tried to evoke pity in this way, abandoning all pride on their hands and knees. This would be last resort, desperate, going to lose the house stuff. But this doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Instead, it's become something of a marketing tactic, which many are all too happy to employ for some short-term success. But how do we get here, and are audiences finally pushing back? This is The Internet is Eating Itself, and let's get into it. Small businesses are seen as hugely important to the economy. Politicians certainly talk about them a lot, and being on the side of small business is universally considered a vote winner, regardless of where you sit on the political spectrum. Plus, new and successful small businesses are generally a sign of a good economy, an indication that people are willing to take the financial risks that they entail. They increase competition and innovation too. The benefits are numerous. How Many Works made a great video on this recently, exploring the huge increase in small businesses since the pandemic. Although, as the video points out, this isn't quite what it seems. This was due in large part to the increase in self-employed gig economy contractors, which qualify as small businesses. But nonetheless, the conventional small business dream persists, as people seek to make a living from their passion and take charge of their working lives. The statistics back this up too, with 62% of Americans wanting to be their own boss, 64% of British people wanting to start their own business, 60% of young people wanting to be their own boss by 30, and 31% of Gen Z believing being their own boss would give them security. For young people, this is likely due in part to influencers increasingly serving double duty as entrepreneurs. Creators like Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, KSI, and Kylie Jenner all make a shit ton of money from their own products, while the richest musicians all own their own brands too. And, of course, MLMs, multi-level marketing, allow anyone to cosplay as a business owner, even if they don't actually make any of the decisions and the finances tend to be dubious. As businesses have moved online over the past couple of decades, so has their marketing, with social media empowering brands to achieve scale that would previously been unthinkable. Historically, this might have been paid ads, but organic social media marketing has grown hugely since then. It's arguably more effective and avoids the need to pay to get in front of eyeballs, something especially important to small businesses and their small budgets. This has been amped up by short-form video, especially TikTok, with its discoverability factor making it easier to achieve virality, or at least mini-virality. Just one successful TikTok can lead to an explosion of orders. And these don't exactly have to be polished either. Their amateurishness is part of the appeal, signaling authenticity to potential customers. They might engage in meme marketing, hopping on popular trends without having to deal with the same approval process that larger businesses might. Despite their popularity, it's a challenging time to run your own business. Small business owners find themselves competing with ones thousands of times bigger than their own, often ripping off their designs, undercutting them, and out-lawyering them. That's not to mention the massive efficiencies of scale that big businesses enjoy, and their ability to dodge taxes. Small creators on Etsy now have to compete with businesses that present their goods as handcrafted, when they're really just dropshippers. And many people want to support these small businesses, but that's hard when we're struggling financially and they understandably have to charge a premium. And while social media marketing makes for a great low-cost tool, it's very persona-led, which can be a struggle for some people, especially if they're older. Enter pity marketing. Posts that are designed to garner sales using sympathy. This takes advantage of our sympathetic nature, a strategy that's historically been more off-putting than appealing. After all, advertising generally presents businesses as confident in their product and, if anything, more successful than it actually is. If other consumers aren't buying a product, then why would we? In theory, pity marketing can apply to any type of business, but realistically, JP Morgan probably isn't going to be doing it anytime soon. Instead, there's a few niches where we're seeing this play out the most. Books are probably the most common, like I mentioned at the start of this video. Selling books is notoriously difficult because there's so many of them, they're a big commitment and people don't read as much as they used to. Although there's been an uptick in recent years, thanks in part to Book Talk. Still, it's a very crowded field because anyone can write a book and a lot of it is just bad. For those struggling with selling copies of their book, pity marketing can be an effective strategy. In December 2022, Chelsea Banning posted to Twitter about having only 2 people show up to her book signing, despite 37 responding going to her Facebook event. Of course, this doesn't actually mean much. This prompted an outpouring of support from authors such as Neil Gaiman, the author of novels such as The Sandman, American Gods, and Coraline, as well as a Carnegie Medal winner. He replied to Chelsea's post saying, "Terry Pratchett and I did a signing in Manhattan for Good Omens that nobody came to at all, so you are 2 up on us." The Handmaid's Tale author Margaret Atwood also responded saying, "Join the club, I did a signing to which nobody came, except a guy who wanted to buy some Scotch tape and thought I was to help." David Nichols, Jonathan Coe, Mallory Blackman, Min-Jin Lee, Christopher Moore, Cheryl Strayed, even Stephen King weighed in with messages of support. This was a heartwarming, uplifting gift of hope for the dispirited author, who replied with, "I feel elated and excited and definitely reassured. I'm not even upset about no one coming, I heard back from a lot of them, and they or their families ended up getting sick." She subsequently received 500 orders and saw her book shoot up the charts. But what could be sadder than your mum setting up a craft stall and having nobody buy from it? That's what happened to TikTok user Brianna Guadarrama, who posted a tearful TikTok expressing heartbreak at her mum not selling anything at her Christmas stall despite spending a month handcrafting products. I don't have the TikTok itself as it's since been taken down, but it received an outpouring of support and media coverage, along with 5 million views and thousands of comments. She made a Shopify store which promptly sold out, with one commenter saying, "I just went to the link and everything is sold out. I'm so happy for her. Tell her not to give up. She's going to win so big." All in all, it was a happy ending and great outcome for Brianna's mum. But what can be a heartwarming testament to the power of the internet has turned into something of a cynical marketing strategy. Book Talk has become particularly saturated with this, to the point that creators have expressed frustration at seeing these same tactics used over and over again to garner sales. Piper CJ is a fantasy author and recent high-profile example of someone who's been accused of engaging in pity marketing. In December, she tearfully claimed to have been threatened with contract cancellation because she fell out the New York Times bestseller list.
And their email read, "We noticed and we're sure this publisher did too, and you're about to have your contract canceled and you're going to be in so much trouble and on the hook for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of your advance that you haven't even gotten yet."
Although it's not actually clear who made this threat, as she claimed it wasn't her agent or publisher. She's since deleted the video, but her TikTok sparked concern from other creators, worried about having their own contracts cancelled. The details of the situation seem murky and confusing to others though, such as the idea of being sued for money not earned, which just doesn't make sense. YouTuber A Little Bit Mads also noticed that Piper CJ's sales were down generally, fueling the idea that this was a deliberate pity marketing strategy.
And here's the thing, I have several friends that still work in bookstores, and I have noticed the Goodreads review counts for the newer books from this author, and they're not even touching the first book in the Night and Its Moon series. So I know for a fact that this author's sales have gone down abysmally this year. It's pretty clear to me that her book series were not received overwhelmingly positively after The Night and Its Moon, because let me just put it to you this way, they're badly written.
Based off reviews and comments from other Book Talk users, the book seems to have been badly written, and Piper even has a history of controversy in the space too. She hasn't followed up since her original post, so I guess she was hoping it would just go away, which it kind of did. Actor Georgie Greer also landed herself in hot water after she was similarly accused of brazen pity marketing, following a poorly attended performance at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. The Edinburgh Fringe, as it's often called, is an annual citywide event that sees performances across hundreds of stages throughout the city, encompassing comedy, theatre, dance, circus, and anything in between. Posting on Twitter, she lamented how only one person attended her one-woman play. Accompanied by a tearful photo, she tweeted, "There was one person in my audience today when I performed my one-woman play, Sunsets at Ed Fringe. It's fine, isn't it? It's fine." Sympathetic to her struggle, accomplished actors and comedians offered words of support, like Ben Stiller, Dara O'Brien, Sarah Millican, Jason Manford, and Mark Thompson. Sorry, I realise most of these people are quite UK specific celebrities, but I promise they're a big deal here. She played to a sold out show within 24 hours of the tweet, performing her play about romantic comedies set during a live podcast recording. There are ups and downs every day, every hour at the Fringe, but ultimately I know I'm lucky to be performing here. The reaction and support from everybody, including my family, friends, the staff at my venue, Gilded Balloon, people online and other performers have lifted my spirits, but I know there are still no guarantees. While this was all nice, it was dampened somewhat by the discovery that she'd made the same post the previous year for the same show. I guess if it doesn't work the first time, try again. So, how did we end up here? It's become a common occurrence for people to seek pity online in an attempt to further their own business or career, and while I'm sure this happened pre-social media, their payoff would have been much smaller because of the smaller reach. Social media algorithms amplify posts likely to attract pity because people are clearly more inclined to engage with them. Author Catherine Beale spoke on this, based on her own experiences, observing how her pity-attracting posts perform far better than those that are much more celebratory in tone.
It wasn't to like, oh, woe was me, please support me. It was, this is some of the reality. And the problem is the algorithm pushes those videos out, or maybe people just like to watch other people suffer. I don't know. But when I make my happy post just saying, yay, I rate these great loaded, no spice, feel good books that have great disability wrap and mental health wrap, and they're going to make you feel good and they're light and easy to read. Nothing.
As in our own case, this isn't always intentional and maybe isn't even most of the time. Part of the beauty of social media is the ability to be vulnerable. It just seems that many of us would rather see others suffer than celebrate. Maybe it's that little bit of jealousy in all of us. Seeing others suffer can be an opportunity to be virtuous, what some might call virtue signaling. More than anything though, pity just isn't a sustainable marketing strategy, and there's only so many times it can be done before people start to catch on. And many of us don't even like it in the first place either. But does our willingness to try and elicit pity say something about the current state of humanity? As Sarah Manavis writes for the New Statesman, these cheap and obvious tactics are linked to the shamelessness often rewarded by social media, where things most people wouldn't share of dreaming beyond a close circle of friends are instead loudly professed, usually in a bid for attention, to hundreds, millions of strangers. It's difficult not to agree with this assessment. Each day another story or video goes viral that leaves us shocked or grossed out, with people seemingly willing to do anything for 15 seconds of fame, completely losing sight of themselves in the pursuit of fame and money, even if that fame is in the form of notoriety. Pity marketing isn't nearly as bad as some of these examples. At the end of the day, we're talking about people attempting to shift books and theatre tickets, shedding a few tears as they do so. Part of this is down to putting too much pressure on ourselves, especially when following pursuits that are particularly difficult to become successful at, such as being an author. Often those engaging in pity marketing have gone full-time or over-invested far too early, such as YouTuber Romain4, who recently posted about losing $60,000 last year making videos. Considering he only started posting in mid-2023 and his views averaged between 10 and 20,000 in 2024, that's a steep climb. The video gained traction and reactions from big creators such as Graham Stephan, Swell Entertainment, and Social Simone, who all questioned why he'd gone from 0 to 100 instead of gradually building up over the years. To be clear, I'm not accusing Romain of pity marketing, but his story does illustrate our tendency to put needless pressure on ourselves, often by making comparisons with those who are far more successful. In the instance of Romain, that would be somebody like Caleb Hammer, a hugely successful YouTuber also in the financial audit niche. As someone who's put hours into projects only for them to flop, I know how it feels to fall short of your own expectations. That's why I try and have none, and appreciate anyone who chooses to watch my videos, or trying to make them a bit better each time. More importantly though, I make videos about topics I'm interested in. This channel would be very tedious otherwise. I personally struggle a lot with comparing myself to others, like more successful channels that have been around for the same amount of time with much better production values. I think this is something we all do to an extent, especially because of social media. Authors compare themselves to other authors whose debut novels are smash hits and quickly develop a BookTok following, or small businesses that struggle to make ends meet while competitors have a product that goes viral and quickly sells out, or entertainers performing to crowds of a few people while their contemporaries pack out venues. It's no surprise that people turn to social media in their lowest moments and knowingly, or otherwise, convert their sorrow to sales. But what do you think? Is pity marketing a sign of something deeper about the state of humanity, that we're willing to debase ourselves on social media for personal gain? Or is this nothing new, just a continuation of what's been going on forever, and social media just makes it more visible? Or a third unspecified option that I hadn't thought of? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and obliterate those like and subscribe buttons while you're down there. I release a new video every couple of weeks. Until next time, see ya.